Goeiemorgen, good morning, hujambo, bonjour, salam alaikum. This tutorial is to make a marble runner like this. It was originally intended as a quiet fidget toy for children, but I have since discovered that adults of all ages and genders also find them fascinating. For younger children, it develops small motor skills and also encouraged to use both hands simultaneously, as well as strengthening little finger muscles. For everyone else, I think it's just mesmerizing. This video is part of the Crochet Basic series, in which you can learn to crochet at your own pace. Please note that I use UK crochet terms, but will mention the US and Afrikaans equivalent occasionally when I remember. As you can see, I have had fun playing with various colors and sizes on these. The one that we will be making today will be approximately 15 centimeters to either side. That should be 6 inches. To make this quick and easy toy, you need to know how to make a chain stitch, a UK treble crochet, how to join two pieces of crochet together, and how to make a slip stitch. On my channel, there are detailed videos available for all of these, should you need any more help. To make the marble runner, you will need DK yarn. I am using cheek double knit in 100% acrylic, and you'll need about 50 grams. And you also need a smaller amount of DK weight in a different color. I'm using some leftover charity pool skein citron yellow. You also need a 4mm hook, then as usual, something with which to cut, and optionally some stitch markers, a yarn needle, and very importantly, one marble from your personal stash of marbles. One marble. To make this marble runner, we will crochet 2 separate squares of the same size in the main color. Then we will crochet the 2 squares together all around with the contrast color, inserting the marble in the last minute. And lastly, we will construct the path or the maze by working slip stitches through both layers of crochet at the same time. To begin, make a slip knot and attach the yarn to your hook. Now chain 24. To make a chain stitch, yarn around the hook, pull the hook and the yarn with it through the loop currently on the hook. That was 1 chain stitch. Continue making chain stitches until you have 24. If you know how to do that, you could also make a chainless foundation trebles for your first row and skip this step if you prefer. I'll make my chains because it seems that I cannot count on camera, and be back when I'm done. I'm back with 24 chain stitches made. Now normally we would make more chain stitches than that. We will need more to make the turning chain. Now the problem with that, when you work a turning chain as at the start of a row of treble crochet, that turning chain comes off the side of the rest of the crochet. See, it comes off the side of the stitch there. So this turning chain comes off from the side here, and the next stitch that you work will go into the middle of the next stitch, leaving a much wider gap between the turning chain and the first treble crochet than the gap between 2 trebles, and that gap is big enough for a marble to slip through, which we don't want. We want this toy to be safe. There are 2 ways we can go about preventing that. The first one is, instead of making 3 chains and have them count as the first stitch, we can make 2 chains, these 2 chains to not count as a stitch, and work the first treble right into the first stitch. And it makes the first stitch and the second stitch will now be the same distance apart as all the other stitches. The other way we can do this is by making what is called a standing treble. In US terms, that would be a standing double crochet, I have also heard it called stacked stitches. To make a standing treble, make sure that the loop on your hook is loose and not very tight. Insert the hook straight away without any turning chains under both loops of the first stitch. Yarn over, pull through. You have 2 loops on the hook. Yarn over and pull through both. You have made a double crochet directly into the first stitch without any turning chain. This yarn is distracting. Let's try that again. Insert the hook underneath both loops of the first stitch of that row. Yarn over, pull through, and you have 2 loops on your hook. Yarn over and pull through both. Now, if you look at this stitch, there are the 2 loops that normally form the top of the stitch. And they are the 2 legs of the double crochet that goes into the stitch below. Now we will insert the hook there into this left leg of the double crochet. Into the same stitch, insert the hook into that left leg and make another double crochet. Yarn over, pull through, you have 2 loops on the hook, yarn over and pull through both. The one double crochet is now standing kind of on top of the other one. You have started a new row without a turning chain. And after that very long sidetrack, let's get back to the actual project at hand. 24 chain stitches. Now, if you prefer to make the standing treble, then yarn over once, insert into the chain stitch, yarn over, pull through, 2 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through both for a double crochet, insert under that left leg of the double crochet you've just made, yarn over, draw up a loop, 2 loops on hook, yarn over, pull through both, and then that would be your standing crochet. So then you will have the 24 chains for the foundation row and 1 little extra chain just to be able to get your hook into the first chain of the pattern. After that, you will continue to work regular trebles, 1 into each chain, like so. However, if you do not want to do that and you are not comfortable with the standing treble, back to the 24 needed for the foundation row, then make 2 more chains. These chains will not count as a stitch. The loop on your hook doesn't count as a stitch either. Yarn over, skip the first 2 stitches, insert the hook underneath the 3rd chain from hook, yarn over, draw up a loop, you have 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through 2, you have 2 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through 2 again, you have made a treble crochet. I suggest, especially if you're new at crocheting and because of this extra 2 chain turning chain that doesn't count, that you immediately place a stitch marker in the top of this treble so that you will know that this is the first and last stitch. For row 1, we will make 1 treble into each chain of the foundation row, so we end up with 24 trebles in the row. So let's do that. We have made 1 treble. Remember, these 2 chains for the turning does not count as a stitch. To make the next treble crochet, yarn over, this wide open chain is the one that you've already worked into. It looks very inviting, but that is not what you want. You want the tight one next to it that has not been worked into yet. Insert your hook, yarn over again, draw up a loop, you have 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through 2, 2 loops remain on the hook, yarn over, pull through both. That was your second treble crochet. That would be a UK treble crochet, which in US terminology is a double crochet, or in Afrikaans a long binkie. Continue working one treble into each chain stitch towards all the way to the end of the row. And just as a reminder, the reason I'm so adamant, I think that is a nice word, yes. The reason I'm so insistent about placing a stitch marker at the beginning of the row when you've made the first stitch is it is very frustrating when you start crocheting or when you crochet anything and you end up missing the last stitch, or perhaps working into a stitch where you're not supposed to work into, leaving the edges of your crochet work going all wonky this way or that way. So adding the stitch marker will remind you visually each time where you have reached the end of the row, and will help to keep the edges straight and neat. Keep on making these treble crochets. Keep doing this and I'll meet you when my row is completed. I'm over at the end of row 1. 24 treble crochet stitches into the foundation chain, and this 2 chain turning that does not count as a stitch. Turn your work and we will start row 2. This will be the repeating pattern for the rest of the square. Turn your work, either work 2 chains for a turning, that does not count, and then work a treble crochet into the first stitch and every stitch thereafter. When you reach the end of the row, turn, repeat until you have 12 rows of treble crochet, or if you prefer, you can work the standing treble into the first chain, insert, yarn over, draw up a loop, 2 loops on hook, yarn over, pull through, completing a double crochet, kort binkie, then insert the hook into this left leg of the stitch, yarn over, draw up a loop, you have 2 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through both loops, and then continue working 1 treble into each stitch. So it's up to you how you start. Either a chain 2 that does not count as a stitch and then a treble into the first stitch, or you can start by making the standing treble into the first stitch. Either way, working underneath both loops of each stitch, continue making a treble till the end of the row, turn and repeat, make 12 rows of treble crochets, and I think I'll see you there. 1 treble into each stitch of the row below, making sure to work your last stitch into either that standing treble or in the first treble if you've used a 2 chain turning. And there should be 24 stitches per row, so you can count that as well to make sure that you pick up as soon as possible when you've made a mistake. And repeat this, and when I get there I'll show you what's next. Oops, it seems that I cannot count. So I've been saying all this time, work until the end of row 12 and work 12 rows and so on and so forth. And I reached 12 rows and compared it to the square I've already made and realized I'm wrong. So, my deepest apology. Please continue working until you have 14 rows, not just 12. I'll be making 2 more because this was 12. But it turns out I thought 14 was better. Oops. sorry, and continue working until there's 14 rows, and I'll see you again. Time to make the last treble on the 14th, not 12th. Oh my goodness. Row, insert the hook, yarn over, draw up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through both. The square is complete, so chain 2 more to fasten off, and cut the yarn, draw out the hook, grab, pinch, pull tight, and then work in the yarn end in any way you like. I just zigzag it through these stitches because we will work over them again for the border. If you have not worked in this beginning yarn end while you were making the square, then you also need to work away that one and work away this one. And when all these little bits and pieces of yarn ends are gone, hopefully I haven't missed anything again this time, but we'll meet again to make the border. To make the border, attach the contrast color yarn to your hook. I'm using a slip knot. Then take your 2 squares and place them with right sides facing. Because we've turned the work and we've only used treble stitches, there's not really much of a difference between the front and the back side. But if for some reason you wanted to know, here I can see the knot made by the slip knot from the foundation row. If that is on your left hand side, then usually this is the right side facing you. We want the right sides to be facing outwards, and we will now work these 2 squares together. To do that, we're going to start just a little bit into this side and then go all around so that we can end here. And the reason for that is when we've worked all around and end here again, this will also be the place where we start to make the first line of the maze. After some experimentation, I found that the marble runs best through 2 rows of trebles when using a 4mm hook and a DK weight yarn. So there is the first row and there is the second row. If you put it there and you pull it open to both sides, stretch it wide open, the long gaps are the stitches, and these on either side, and these smaller openings in the middle is where we will work the stitches into. That is between rows. So there's row 1 and a gap and another row. So we will skip 2 rows and start between these 2 rows. Insert your hook at the edge of the one square, identify the same place in the other square, 1 row, gap between rows, second row, gap between rows, insert the hook right in there. Now yarn around the hook, pull it through and pull it through the loop that was on the hook. See, ta-da! They're stuck together. We are going to work double crochets into the side of both rows at the same time. The double crochet is the UK term. In US this will be single crochets, or in Afrikaans kortpinkies. So insert the hook into the side of one of the trebles on the first square, insert the hook into the side of the treble, the same place of the bottom square, yarn over, pull it through all of them, 2 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through both loops, and you have 1 double crochet. Now insert the hook into this little gap between the 2 rows, through both squares, yarn over, pull through all, 2 loops, yarn over, make the double crochet, insert the hook anywhere in or around the stitch, insert the hook around the treble on the other side, draw up a loop, complete the double crochet. To work in the corner, we need to make more double crochets to get around the corner. So insert the hook in the top of that stitch and insert the hook into the top of the stitch. Yarn through, 1 double crochet. We will make 2 more to get around the cornery bit. Not the ornery bit, the cornery bit. Hey, that's the first English word I've invented for all today. Not bad, actually. And we'll do 1 more. Altogether, there will be 4 stitches into this stitch, 4 UK double crochets to neatly get around the corner. So we're now at the top of the 2 squares, and we will work underneath both loops of each stitch. Insert the hook, yarn over, draw up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 for a double crochet. 1 double crochet into each stitch across, and then when we get to the corner, 4 double crochets all together into this 2 corner stitches, 2 double crochets per row down the side, 1 into the side of the stitch and 1 into this gap between the stitches, all the way to the bottom side. Then through both foundation chains, 4 stitches for the corner, and all the way until you're back here. Do not fasten off. I'm back after working only one side of the square almost completely. This is the last stitch to work the top of the squares together, and we make 1, 2, 3, 4 double crochets all into that same spot, then 1 into the side of this treble. Doesn't really matter where you poke the hook through. 1 double crochet, and then in the gap between the rows for both squares. Okay, and keep working like this, but do not work it all the way closed, because we still need to insert the marble at some stage. So when I'm done working that side and I get somewhere around here, then I'll see you again. I'm back to double crochet stitches per row, 4 in the corner, 1 double crochet per treble all along the top, 4 in the corner, again 2 double crochet stitches per row, 4 in the corner, and 1 double crochet per stitch to the other side corner, 4 in the corner, and then again 2 double crochets per treble row. Almost finished. There's still a little gap there, and we'll take the marble. Hey, see, it's a yellow flame, it fits the yellow border, and pop it inside. We finish closing up this little gap, and then back where we started in the gap between the rows, we will make a double crochet. There's the stitch, the first stitch we worked into there. We'll make a slip stitch, so now the border is secure. I think first make 1 chain, then bring the yarn to the front of the work, turn your crochet to the side, insert the hook there in the same space where this last stitch was worked. This row of gaps here is where we will work into on the back, the gaps between the two rows of stitches. So insert the hook from front to back through both, and then go back into the next stitch, bringing out the hook in front, and work a slip stitch. Yarn around, pull through, and then also pull through the loop on the hook. That is one slip stitch made. Insert the hook where it just came out all the way to the back and bring it back at the next stitch, making sure to keep into this little holes between the trebles and not go in between the treble stitches themselves. And another slip stitch. The first few are kind of hard, and then you and your hook will just fall into a rhythm, especially if you don't have the focus of the camera on you, because somehow that makes everything 5 times harder. Pull through all of it, and the hook on the loop. Hook, what? I don't know what I said, the loop on the hook. Insert back in and out. Remind yourself to be patient. You're almost done. In and out, completely through. So keep on working slip stitches like this until there are 3 stitches remaining. So the one of the border and 2 more, actually until there are 3 gaps remaining. So work until you get to around there, and then I'll see you again. Okay, I have worked, and let me see. So there are 1, 2, 3 stitches completely unworked. We've worked into the base of this 4th one, which means, nope, there are only 2 gaps between, because that gap's kind of taken up by the border. So to test this, you can find your find the marble, and it should be able to smoothly go through there, but not just fall through. You must actually, not too tight, not too loose, just perfect. And then you see, there runs the marble. Through our row, 2 rows of trebles is just the right width. Okay, get the marble away. There you can see the last stitch emerged from there. Let's draw up the loop tight again. Now make 2 chains, 1, 2, leave a long enough yarn end to work it in later. Draw out the hook, pull tight on the slip stitches, then insert the hook from the back there into that last stitch, and pull this yarn end towards the back. Later we will use the yarn needle to sew this yarn end in there and secure it. Because the slip stitches are slightly tighter, they also draw the 2 squares closer to each other. For the next part of the maze. Leave a longer yarn end so that you can work it in later. Attach the yarn again, leave 1, 2 rows unworked, and between the second row from the last worked one and the third, in that gap between the trebles, that is where we will start working. Since the marble will run here, we'll leave the next opening towards that side. So 1, 2 rows of trebles, the gaps between the rows, and out from the other side. Start making slip stitches. Insert all the way clear through the back and out again from the next. You can take this starting yarn end and also pull it towards the back. It will both make the first stitch look neater and also give more space to work away this little bitty thingy. And that's all there is to the marble runner. Keep on working pathways through both layers, making sure there are 2 rows in between. As you can see there's always 2 rows in between. And then when you get to the end of every pathway, there are 2. So in theory 3 stitches, but that one is kind of worked into by the border. And then 2 more that is unworked. That should leave a sufficient space for the marble to run through. You can either make the pathway like this one is, so the marble just runs there and then there, and you do that by starting here and sewing until you get there, then fasten off, start there, sew it in until you get there, fasten off, and keep on doing this until you finish the maze. Or if you feel like it, you can make, this one was also just zigzag in kind of Christmas red and green. This one, the marble would run there and then through there, but then when it comes here, if you run it to the end of the row, it's stuck because it's a maze. You'd have to go down and then not go that side, because then it will be stuck. The world's most complicated maze, I know. And there you go. So this one I have made 2 gaps like in the middle. There's one there, and that one is not quite in the middle, slightly off to one side. That means for this row you need to work in from there and work in from there. So keep on doing your slip stitches, fasten off, and when you're done, work in all the great many yarn ends that you will have. Thank you for watching. Have an amazing time making mazes, and see you next time. Have fun crafting. Bye bye.